Gundam.tk presents Master Grade Gundam version 2.0 Titanium Finish. Hey, what's up again everybody? It's Robert184, 2 R's 2 B's from GundamReviews.net, and I'm continuing my new school HD look at an old school model here, the RX-78-2 Gundam, the granddaddy of them all. This is the version 2.0 with the special exception that this is the titanium finish that came out to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Gunpla, and now I'm going to take a look at its most interesting feature, in my eyes anyway, the fantastic inner frame. If you want to do what I do here and put together just the inner frame without the actual armor on it, you're going to have to use your imagination, although it's not all that hard. Basically, if you're putting on a red, white, blue, or yellow piece, you can skip that part until it's all done. These are the empty plates that you're going to have, and here you can see all the parts that are going to make up the inner frame, and there you see the body actually together to go along with the head, and I've also put together the weapon. But I'm going to focus just for a moment on the significance of this inner frame, because when the original RX-78-2 version 2.0 came out, the fact that it had this inner frame that you could put together that could do a million different things, a million different poses, as we've seen already with the box tour, and the fact that it's just so much fun to put together, this for me was really when the Master Grades became the amazing bit of technology that they already have been. Inner frames have been existing for most of the 2000s, they've been getting better and better and better, but the fact that you can put one together here with no colored parts whatsoever, you don't have to put the few little ones on that I did, and still have something that's an actual amazing piece of technology. If you go back about 700 videos ago when I first put this thing together, I actually kept the armor off it for such a long time. It's in a whole bunch of videos and intros because I just had so much fun with the inner frame, so it's fun to go back and revisit this, and I wonder how many of these you've put together between the G3 and the MSV for the real type colors, and I wonder how many more we could be getting in the future. So to start with the legs first, you can see that it's going to be all one color, and because this is the titanium finish, you can see that this is going to be not the regular inner frame color for a Federation suit. It's going to be a nice shiny silver here. So in terms of mobility, you're going to have the hips up here. You can see that these will rotate around and pivot up and down here. You're also going to have a white piece that plugs in there to the back, so that's going to look good if it is exposed. When you take a look at the front, when the calves bend there, you can see that this piston is going to move, and there's also a piston inside the knee down there. You can plug in some little white armor parts on either side. These parts just seem a little bit cheap when you put them on, but still it can be easily forgiven. And down here you're going to have a completely separate ankle assembly that's going to allow the foot to move around all over the place. You'll notice that it does feel a little bit loose every once in a while, like it could come off, but you do have good support here for the ankles and working pistons on the front and back that aren't just the cheater ones that are just going to look like they do that. And for the feet, you're going to have articulation here in 3 different points. Just for a close-up of the foot, which was one of the first things that I put together the first time I put this together, basically you're going to have these pistons that are a little bit loose, but you can imagine those will plug in quite nicely when you put it all together. And in terms of that articulation, you can see that the toe is going to split, the heel is going to split, and you're going to have these thrusters. And if you line it up from here to here, you can have over a 90-degree bend, which is just astonishing. When you put it all together, again, this part can be a little bit loose. You're going to put the ankle guard on here and plug these into the pistons. This part is going to fit into the foot. It would be nice if that was a little bit more secure. But moving on to the waist section, where you're going to have none of the gimmicks that we've seen in more recent ones where you can slide the hips forward and back. That's not too disappointing here. You're going to have all these attachment points that are going to be used to put on the white and the gold or the yellow here. And when you put this together, one thing that I remember, it is a feature that features in the anime that you can have the red part there with the little gold V, and that can push inside, which is just going to be problematic, I found. Maybe it's something that can just be sticky tacked or glued into place. But when you're putting this whole thing together, it's rather impressive because when you put this on, you may notice here that this part is going to swing up and down. So the side armor and the rear armor are actually going to be attached together. And this front armor, the whole platform here, can move up and down. The only thing that's a little bit disappointing is that you're not going to have too much of a secure way to plug this into the waist section. But it is going to look very good even without a core fighter or a core block or a core Brock as we've seen in the past from Bandai. Basically here, when you put these gold parts in, this is really going to help bring it to life a little bit. Just to have that silver and the gold, I think, is a nice combination. Of course, there's going to be a lot more colors when you add on everything to it. But in terms of articulation, you're going to have this part here, which is going to move. Amazing that they have a core block with the core fighter, and it's still going to be able to move. But once you get up to the shoulders, this is the really impressive part. It's too bad that I plugged in this top part, because before you do that, you're actually going to have sliding pistons inside there. You may be able to make them out a little bit. So what you can do is you can bring the arms out all the way forward. You can twist them up ever so slightly here. This part is going to come up, but you just get an incredible range of motion, and you can see the way that that slides in. I hope that's still locked into place, but it looks like it should be. Everything sounds good so far. In the back, you're just going to be able to put on the backpack, and the amazing things is that these gold parts, when you move one, actually all three are going to move, so you're not going to have any problems lining them up. Like I said though, for the problem with the attachment point, it's not the end of the world, but you'll notice that this is going to plug in down here. And what this means is that you can put together the inner frame without the core fighter. I would have really preferred if they have given a silver one inside so that you could just plug in a silver body and just have a more filled out skeleton, if it were, with some actual internal organs. Of course, all you have to do is take this and plug it in all of its shiny glory. It just would be better because we've seen it in the past, and it's something that should have been included when they came out with the 2.0. Even the inner frame for the shoulders is going to look good. You're not going to have too much articulation though, just one part here which is going to move up and down. This is a solid piece, so you'll have to be careful when you take it off. And it's not going to fit on securely into the shoulder until you actually plug in the arm itself, which is going to look pretty skinny compared to the rest of the body, especially with these big cartoony hands, which some people love and some people hate. But up here for the shoulder, you can see that this is going to move about 135 degrees there. It's going to rotate all the way around if you want to do that, but for the bend at the elbow, if we take a look here, you can see that this part is going to spread out and this part down there. So you're going to have two working pistons. When you actually put the white part on, it calls for that early on in the instructions. I just skipped it though to try to keep this as silver as possible. And you've got this forearm part here, which is going to look good. It's not going to move very much, but you do have this polycap part down here, so you can see that the arms are going to have pretty decent mobility if you can get past their cartoony nature. Something that's very impressive though with this, compared to especially the newer kits like Master Grade Wings that are going to have solid fingers, is this one. It does have a 3-finger trigger finger split. What I found even more impressive is that the end of the fingertips are individual. So you can move these down. All you'd have to do is separate these and you can make these fully articulated, perfect grade-esque hands. The thumb isn't going to have a bending point here, but all of the fact that you can move all these fingers in all these directions, it's fantastic while still maintaining that little bit of stability. Good details even on the inside of the backpack, where you're going to have thrusters that are not going to move very much, if at all, and you have some lining opportunities. But the thing that I really liked about this is that you've actually got the ability to take the beam sabers, plug those in, and you can bend them in and out if you want to grab them. And it's sort of cool because if you've seen, especially let's say something like High Grade Unicorn, and you can imagine that many people have broken off the beam sabers and the way those attach on there. With this part, you're actually going to have the peg inside the part there, so when you plug in the beam sabers, it should be a little bit more secure and a little bit less difficult, less easy to break apart. Now for this part, all you're going to do is plug it around, which is sadly going to cover up most of the details, but you do get that nice little glossy shine thanks to the titanium version. Which brings us to the most important part, the head of the Gundam, and there's a little bit more color in here than you may have seen for the rest of the body, except for the gold vents. You can put as much on or as little, I suppose, when you're assembling it. The eyes are just going to be black and gold stickers when you put that all together. You can see how red this titanium finish is going to be. It's going to look fantastic, especially on parts like the shield. Up here, you're going to have a clear part, which would actually provide a little bit of light piping, I suppose. We could have all dream. But you are going to be getting red seals there for the camera lenses front and back. The Vulcans are actually done in white, which is a fantastic little detail. I put that on just to put the clear part on. But you're going to have lining opportunities here that when you plug the white part in around them are still going to be visible. So everything's looking good, including the front grills here. I'm not going to do any lining, but it's more the impressiveness of just the overall, the fact that you're getting an inner frame for the head. It is overall just two large gray parts plugged together, so don't expect too many details in there. But it's the little details like the neck and the fact that it actually, if you can make it out, there's piping there, which is going to plug down. Now these are fake pipes, not like the one that we've seen in the ankles, but it's still impressive nonetheless that he's got such a thick, solid neck, and when you compare that to a high-grade Universal Century pop-on point, this one just screams Master Grade in quality. Now when he's all put together, he's going to look very, very skinny, a little bit shiny, which is certainly a bonus there. The gold parts in the front and the little red details up there on the face, the titanium version, are certainly going to help see to that. But in general, it's the kind of thing where every time I put this guy together, I say to myself that what I should be doing is buying duplicates and having the RX-78-2 next to an exposed inner frame, because I think this is just fantastic. There's one way that you could get around that by buying the clear version or the smoked version where you just have a white outer body. If you wanted to go and paint up the mechanical details, you could certainly make this guy fantastic. Even though he does look a little bit skinny, it's still cool to see what goes inside, and if you added the core block, it would look even better. And showing him off skeletally is not as impressive as seeing all of the moving parts, especially those pistons. You are going to see a few things get exposed, like up there at the top of the thighs, but that's the kind of thing that's of course going to be covered up with the armor. It's still just impressive that you get those 3 points of articulation with the feet and all the ways that you can move the upper body. A couple things to keep in mind though if you're dealing with old Skeletor as an actual model here is that these parts here are very easy to dislodge from the waist. And for the shoulders, these are just a little bit of a pain to put on here. It's not impossible, you just have to get the shoulder plugged in properly with this part put in. That's going to be a problem when you've got the white part on. The only thing is that if you do it once, it's going to be a little bit hard to dislodge. So you may want to decide ahead of time if you're going for complete Skeletor or you're just going to be covering this up after. If you do add the core fighter, you're going to get these extra connection points, which are going to make the already decent connection all that much stronger. As we just add that little bit of color for the size comparison here, you can see that he should be smaller than the Age 1. You can imagine with armor that they're going to be pretty much about the same size. The Age 1 just may have a little bit of an edge in terms of shoulder width, but you can just see the similarities, and it's great to see the Age 1 and how much it throws back to the old school granddaddy. So that's going to wrap up my look at the inner frame, which is one of my favorite features of this, which is why it gets a part all to itself. No matter how many times I put it together, it feels great, and every time I'm always wondering to myself why I don't just go and buy an extra one and show it off next to the regular Gundam. It's something that I've been saying for too long and still haven't done, but it's because when you have G3 armor or titanium finish, you just want to keep adding it on, even though it's going to be the same Gundam. I wonder if for the future if we'll be getting other different variations, but in the meantime, it's certainly a lot of fun to put together, so stay tuned for the next parts where we actually get to see what the Gundam is going to look like in all of its titanium glory. So why don't you let me know what you think of this inner frame with a comment down below. Has it been beat by things like the Master Grade Shinonju that have come since? Or is it still, am I blowing it out of proportion when I say that it was a part of a renaissance of the Master Grade line? Anyway, everybody, would love to hear from you with a comment down below, and we'll see you next part. Thanks for watching, everybody. See ya. Seriously, I think my chest lights up more than yours does.